Let's go.
When you break your desire for money, because what did we say? Money itself is actually good for you. Money is good for you. But money is only good for you when you stop wanting it. And this is a paradox. Sleep is only good for you when you stop wanting it.
Stop saying when you stop wanting it.
Stop telling me what to do. Don't tell me what to do.
No, because you said the other shit.
I'm bedavka.
When you live for it.
Yes. I know. I'm going to explain myself. You have to wait a second. I'm building up something. Not everything is shashlik. Okay. Some things take time to develop. They're not tasty right away. You have to wait a second. When your desire is not for money, but you make money because you need to make money in order to allow yourself to have the opportunity to grow and to develop, specifically in the area of spirituality. We're actually going to see later on in Likut Merman, much later on, which is very hard for my students to digest. There's something they really have to think about. And that is that Rabbi Nachman says that money is not for men. Money is only for your wives and your children. Yeah. That is a whole world to delve into. We're not going to get into that right now. But the main thing to understand is that money, sleep, food, drinks, things like this are only good when you're using them as a means to an end, and they stop becoming a blessing when they become an end in and of themselves. That's basically what it is. When you stop desiring the thing in and of itself, but you're doing it for a higher purpose, it's not only not bad for you, it's actually a bracha at the highest level. But when you do it for the sake of itself, then it becomes a kala, it becomes a curse. And how does it become a curse or a bracha? It becomes a curse because you actually eliminate your ability to experience Hashem in your life, mamish. So that's pretty big challenge, you know? Since we know that all good comes from the revelation of godliness, which is called hashkacha hapratit, and you cannot have that unless Rabbi Nachman says you break your taiva for mammon, and he calls it a taiva, just like a taiva for food, just like a taiva for sex, okay, is taivat mammon. And he says the taivat mammon is mamish avodah zarah. He says it in many different places. People don't get as excited about this Torah as about dancing and singing and being happy and a zamra, and therefore they're not usually referenced by the famous Breslov speakers. However, it's very clear, and he says it in multiple different places, that the love of money is mamash avodah zarah. And this is the reason why a person who loves money does not feel Hashem in their life. That's the reason why he's constantly running and chasing and feels like he's in a rat race. This is the reason, mamish, and that's the reason why he feels no questions.
No question, comments.
No comments, no nothing. You have to wait.
No concern.
You have to wait. And the only way to experience hashkacha pratit is when you believe in Hashem alone. And the greatest barrier to believing in Hashem alone is to also believe in money as your key to anything, and not to understand that Hashem has your money and that Hashem has what's good for you as well. Hashem is everything, whatever you need. You can get whatever you like. From Hashem. But when you break your desire for money and then you go make money, he says that money literally renews your soul. He says in this Torah that there's multiple activities that when you break your desire for them, then the thing itself actually renews you completely. One of those things is sleep. That if I'm going to go to sleep just because I want to sleep, then you wake up more tired than when you went to sleep. But if I go to sleep because I want to wake up refreshed in the morning, then it's refreshing. Because you broke your taiva for sleep. You want to break your taiva, your desire for physicality alone. And then the masur matan, the business that you do be'emunah, which is the concept of sleep. Like it says in the Torah, Ashrei Am Zarka. Okay. Until when is going to be laying down? When are we going to rise from your sleep? This is what it says in Mishlei. Hainu, meaning, Ad matai tishka v'tishan ba'atzlut. How long are you going to be lying down and sleeping in atzlut? Lack of energy, lack of purpose, feeling low, feeling sad. Matai tishaber et hashena. When are you going to break this concept of sleep? Az adraba. Then when you do the opposite. Ayad yashena, through the sleep itself, yechazek mocho. You renew your consciousness. You renew your mind. You refresh your mind. You renew your ability to experience connection to Hashem, hashgacha pratit, simcha, joy. Ve'yitchadesh nafsho, and you renew your soul. Is everybody understanding his formula here? Nothing is bad in and of itself. But when you desire the thing itself, it's bad. But when you desire it for a higher purpose, then it's not only not bad, it renews you, it mechadeshes you. That's why it says, when will you rise? Mishnatecha, from your sleep. Hainu, meaning lecha takuma shiakum vitromem nafshecha ayadei shena. Meaning, when will your neshama elevate through the sleep itself? I know personally for me, I used to sleep 8 to 10 hours, and I used to feel dead tired when I got up, and it took me an hour of what is it called? On your phone, that you put it to sleep and you put it to sleep and you do a snooze it over and over and over again. But I was sleeping the amount of hours that the medical world says you need in order to feel life force and joy. And now I don't sleep more than 6 hours a night, usually from 5 to 6 hours a night. And I feel very refreshed in the morning. What's the reason? Because before I was sleeping just because sleeping feels good. And now I'm sleeping so that I can have energy and koach and life force in the morning to go perform my mission of that day. And as a result of that, Hashem makes it that sleep, those 6 hours of sleep, is sleep of bracha. It's sleep of blessing. It's sleep of life force, energy, strength.
How do you find that mission that you're supposed to be doing?
You have to learn Rabbeinu's Torah. You have to learn Rabbi Nachman's Torah, and then you'll know that you're a superhero, and you're sent here on a very, very, very important mission, and you're going to feel so on fire from that thing that you're not going to be able to, it's going to be hard for you to go to sleep because you're so excited. It's going to be hard for you not to stay in your bed anymore because you want to get up so fast. But for that, you're going to need a lot of exposure to Rabbi Nachman's Torah so that you realize who you are and what you're here for. Until that point, it's going to be very difficult for you to get up. And what's the proof? It's difficult for you to get up.
Come to Shul.
It's gotten better for me, easier.
It's going to be more and more. One day, mamish, it's going to be with Hashem if you don't give up.
Also, I daven Chamara, which I never did in my life. I'm davening 3 minyan a day.
But I thought Rabbi Nachman is fluff, and you just start learning that. You don't do any of the other mitzvahs.
No, it's not fluff.
It's mamish not fluff.
It's not. It gives you the energy to do everything else.
Of course.
That's also yesterday when you eat something and you don't eat something and you hold yourself back
Yeah.
from eating it.
Excess.
You did it? You tried it?
So I tried it. I'm waiting for the bread.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it's a great way. It's a great mindset to protect yourself from eating the wrong things.
Beautiful. And you know what happens? Before you have Rabbi Nachman, you don't want to overeat because they say it's not good for you. It's not good to be a glutton. Okay. Is that enough motivation for you to stop eating your plate?
For many, it's not.
No, it's nobody. It's not. Nobody in our generation.
But if
This
you're
is
not going to
motivation.
be happy from it,
But if you realize that you mamish have an ability, like Rabbi Nachman says, if you break your taiva for achila and you leave a little bit at the end, you can have miracles performed for you. All of a sudden, it's like, wow, well, I need this thing in my life. I need this thing in my life. It's not worth that last crumb. And now you have motivation. You can go do it. This is the same thing by everything. Rabbeinu gives you the motivation to mamish do all these things. That's why I tell people. I had a guy come up to me. He's like, look, I don't really like the whole Rabbi Nachman thing being shoved down my throat. I don't want to hear him. All my friends are telling me it's it, and they're growing, and they feel happier, and they're learning, and they're this, and they're that. I don't want to hear it anymore. What is this? That for 2,000 years, we have rabbis saying like this. Rabbi Nachman comes and he says like that. What are the chances one guy figures it out? I know that. I know. This is what he tells me. I say, I want to be straight honest with you. I'm going to straight up with you. And I know what the issue is at the core. It's pagama brit. Okay?
and that doesn't necessarily only mean
No, it's just no, but for this person it's the locus of it. It's not just the extensions that we spoke about. It's the actual
act of that.
Yeah, the actual
self gratification.
Yes. So I said to him, I said, listen to me, I'm telling you a fact. There is no rabbi in the world who could have got me to stop wasting seed beside Rabbi Nachman. I'm not telling you that so you learn his Torah. I'm not telling you that for any other reason besides the fact that it is emet la'amita.
But there's a schus that comes with the learning that allows you to get out of it. It's not just the Torah. It's the.
I didn't say Torah. I said Rabbi Nachman.
Right. There's
His
help
Torah.
you get.
I understand that, but I'm saying it's the koach of his Torah that allows you to do that. These people, I know for personally, this person, the people he looks up to the most in the community, those who came from his place and are now in a place that he really is inspired by, they're all students of Rabbi Nachman. I said, I promise you, I've never spoken to those people. I would bet my life on it. If you ask that person how he got to this place, he would tell you one thing, Rabbi Nachman. If you asked him, could he have done it without, he would say no. He would say no. And this person I know, he's inspiring thousands of people in this community for years now. And he would not be able to do any of those things if it wasn't for the koach of Rabbeinu and his Torah and his learning. And now, not only is he not doing those things, he's at tzaddik mamish. He couldn't have got it any other way. That koach to go and run the bridge, to go from complete disconnect from spirituality, to have families that are not religious, to grow up in a generation, in a community that's not connected, and for you to actually literally completely transform yourself. There's no other rabbi who's the koach to make you do that. In our generation, there just is not. You need the greatest light for the greatest darkness. So you just need to expose yourself. Okay? Sat Hashem. And to the one who merits that he's able to elevate his neshama through shvirat hashena, through the breaking of the sleep, meaning breaking of desire for money, literally by breaking your taiva for money, you automatically create a unity between Hashem and the Shekhinah. And just so you know, according to Kabbalah, according to Chassidut, all problems that come into the world personally for you and collectively come from the separation between Hashem and his Shekhinah. This is why the Baal Shem Tov and the Sephardic rabbis, you see in the beginning of every bracha, you say Hashem Yichud. To the extent that Rav Avadi Yosef says you might not even be Yotzeh. And in the end, we don't paskin like that. But you might not even be Yotzeh if you don't say Hashem Yichud before the mitzvah. Really? If I don't say Hashem Yichud before a mitzvah, I don't get that mitzvah.
The one you have a proper kavanah.
Who cares? I did the mitzvah.
It's better.
And b'diavad, I don't get the mitzvah? I'm just saying the fact that it could be that in the end, even if you mamish did a mitzvah, I did it without the kavanah of L'Shem Yichud. Not just kavanah that I'm doing the mitzvah, L'Shem Yichud. That they even have a discussion, you may not have done the mitzvah. What's the reason? Because the point of everything that we do here is to create a unity between Hashem and his Shekhinah. And through this unity, all bracha comes down into the world. That's parnasa, that's your wife, that's your kids, that's shalom bayit, that's your ability to learn Torah, that's your ability to focus. Every good thing in your life comes from the unity of Hashem and the Shekhinah. Rabbi Nachman says, just by breaking your taiva for money, you automatically create a union between Hashem and the Shekhinah. And that draws down brachati. That's what it means that you arouse the shachar, you arouse the dawn. Because we said, what is the shachar? It's the Shekhinah. Ayelet the shachar. We said it's Esther. Esther is the Shekhinah. So we're saying that when we wake up the dawn, meaning when we wake up from sleep, when we wake up and we elevate from the desire for money, we elevate Esther from King Achashverosh and we bring her to Mordechai. What am I saying when I mean that? Okay. All suffering in the world comes from the fact that Hashem and the Jewish people are not one. We know because at the end of Aleinu we say Hashem Echad U'Shemo Echad, that Hashem is one and His name is one. What's Hashem's name? Klal Yisrael. We are His name. What is a person's name? What's a person's name? That's how you identify with them. How is the whole world gonna chap that Hashem exists? Through us. Because we're His name. Does everybody understand that? Mm-hmm. If I couldn't call Eli Eli, there's no way for me to identify him, even though I know he exists. For me to identify Eli, I need a name. Does everybody understand that?
Yeah. That's the way you refer to Eli.
That's the way I refer to him. That's the way I connect to him. It's through his name. Do you know that if you just call somebody's name, they immediately lift their head up, wake up, no matter what they're doing? Say Eli. Why? Because a person is essentially connected to their name. What is the name of Hashem? Yisrael, us. How? I understand, but I'm saying the whole concept of Aleinu, Hashem Echad, Shemo Echad, at the end of times, if the Geula is going to take place, that Hashem is going to be revealed in the world, how is it going to be revealed in the world? Through us. When we are really Yisrael, Hashem will be Kivyachol Hashem for the world. Okay? So, how do we actually affect that unity? So now I want to take you back a little bit and explain something. It's a little Kabbalistic, but try to stay with me. We have the 10 Sefirot. These are the 10 emanations of godliness in the world. Meaning, so to speak, there's only 10 ways to perceive Hashem in this world. That you can feel Hashem. 10 ways. One of them is through love. When you feel love from your friend, when you feel love from a literal Jew, you're literally feeling Hashem's love through that person. And you feel God in your love. When a Baal Tshuva comes and he goes into a Shabbaton and he sees the love that he has, even though they don't know him, he mama starts feeling Hashem in that place. What happens when he goes to a place and you see everybody mamish as Yira has awe of the tzaddik that's in there? You automatically feel like there's God. Right? You feel Kedusha. When you come to a lesson of Chassidut and you see the beauty of the lesson, that you see how beautiful it is, you mamish feel Hashem. So all of these different qualities are expressions of Hashem. They're like windows into experiencing Hashem in your life. Everybody understand that point so far? The final two expressions of Hashem in the world are called Yesod and Malchut. Yesod simply is the Tzaddik Yesod Olam. That through the Tzaddik Yesod Olam, you get to experience Hashem. And where is that within you? You also have a Tzaddik Yesod Olam through you. What is the Tzaddik Yesod Olam through you? When a person becomes a master of his Brit. When a person becomes a master of his own Brit, there he sees a tremendous revelation of godliness. But there is, so to speak, a unique Tzaddik Yesod Olam, a soul who's called the Tzaddik Yesod Olam, and whenever you learn his Torah, whenever you visit him, whenever you connect to him, you experience God in your life. Everybody understand that? That's just so. Then you have something called Malchut. Malchut represents the Jewish people at large. We are all Hashem's Malchut. We're his kingdom. Before creation, Yesod and Malchut were actually one. They were together, like Adam and Chava. They were connected back to back. Meaning that the Tzaddik and Klal Yisrael are not two separate entities. They're really one entity. When Adam and Chava were split, the Tzaddik and Klal Yisrael were split. And the entire Geula comes in the merit of these two things uniting together. And that's why the Jewish people couldn't leave Mitzrayim until we all had Hikashut with Moshe Rabbeinu. So we all had this very intense relationship that he was mashpia on us and we were receiving from him. And through that unity, and the Jewish people.
In Mitzrayim?
Yes.
What were the things?
We couldn't leave Mitzrayim until we had Moshe.
We had Moshe. And
we had to accept him as our leader. If you didn't accept him as your leader, you didn't leave Mitzrayim.
So 10 plagues had to happen in order for us to leave.
It was only at it was only at the end of the 10 plagues that it said, Az Yashir, we believe in Hashem and we believe in Moshe his servant. There was no way we were leaving without both of those beliefs. We had to believe in Hashem and we had to believe in Moshe his servant. Because he's the Tzaddik Yesod Olam. And as long as we don't believe in the Tzaddik Yesod Olam, Malchut and Yesod are not face to face. They're back to back. And we can't leave exile. There is a Moshe Rabbeinu in every generation. And you cannot leave unless you have Hikashru with him.
So you're saying that it was the Kriyat Yamsuf that solidified them? Or
it was the Kriyat Yamsuf.
Left. That's what I'm trying to say.
But that had to come through 10 plagues. And then finally when it split, they believed completely. Up until the way, they believed enough because the elders were telling the Jewish people he's the real deal. But when did everybody believe it? When the sea split. Why did the elders believe before they did? Because the elders were already holding. The Jewish people were not connected. They were all stuck in Taivat Mammon. They were all stuck in Taivat Niyuf. They were all connected to the physical world where the Zakinim met. They were like the Tzaddikim of the generation. They were the ones who told the Jewish people to begin with, Moshe's the real deal. believe in him. But it took the entire time for them to actually in their heart believe what the tzaddikim of the generation were saying.
And that's what took them 40 years.
The point is like this. The Jewish people, we're going to learn about Yosef HaTzadik soon. His brothers thought he was crazy. And he told them, you're all going to bow down to me. This was what was mashma in his dreams. They took that as a threat. Just like if anybody told you, you're going to bow down to me. What do you think that sounds like? You're trying to impose your unauthorized authority on me. Where we know Yaakov told Yehuda, you're going to be the king. And we know that the Or Chaim explains that the brothers, it wasn't that they hated Yosef just because they hated Yosef. They literally thought that he was a threat to the Jewish mission in the world. That Yaakov Avinu told them that we are going to reveal God in the world, the 12 children of Yaakov, and we're going to do it with Yehuda as the leader. And Yosef came and said, I had a dream, and you're all going to bow down to me, including Yehuda. They said, the master of dreams. Then he had another dream, and same thing. What was mashma was that everybody was bowing down, including Yaakov, including Rachel. Everybody. What? Yosef. So what was the whole entire issue? The issue is with Yosef that nobody knows he's the tzaddik. The essential issue with Yosef is that he's different. Like Rashi says, he was flamboyant. He used to curl his eyebrows and do his hair. He used to act funny. He used to be different. And his brothers, meaning the Talmidei Chachamim of the generation, they saw Yosef and they thought this guy's Meshuggah. Flamboyant means he was outlandish. He was eccentric. He was in your face. He wasn't to himself. He was acting childish. He was acting like a little child. Rabbi Nachman explains that, and Rav Natan brings it down, it was all show. He did it because his whole entire mission is to bring all those who were furthest from Hashem out of exile. And the only way to do that is to act like them. And that's why those who were around him thought, you're doing not what we were taught. This is not Masorah. You understand? This is not tradition. Yosef was different. As a result of that, they put him in Chayrim and they threw him down because they thought he was actually going to derail everything. But in the end, the truth is, what happened to the Jewish people? Hashem made it that they didn't have Shefa anymore. Meaning, no simcha, no joy, no happiness, no life force, no energy, no parnasa, no nothing. All the Jewish people went into Tov V'Vohu in Eretz Yisrael, and Yosef was suffering the worst suffering in Mitzrayim. Why? To clear the way for them to be able to come down there and do the same thing, because he already did it himself. To be able to go into the secular world and still become tzaddikim. And when they got there, what ended up happening? They all bowed down to Yosef. And they realized, and everybody realized, and Yosef said, Ani Yosef. Meaning there is a process, the Vilna Gaon explains, there's a process of the Tzaddik Yisrael Olam in the final generation that everybody feels that he's insane and the people who are with him are insane. And then at the end he says, Ani Yosef, because the world needs him. And this is why Rabbeinu Zal says, in the final generation, everybody's going to need me. Everybody thinks Rabbi Nachman, what do you mean? Dancing on cars, X, Y, and Z, Mapitom, what are you talking about? Uman Rosh Hashanah, this is crazy. His followers are crazy. But in the end, you're going to see that everyone needs Yosef. But it's not because Yosef thought he was Mashiach. It's because Yosef understood he was Yesod, he's the tzaddik. And the only way for Yehuda to be the king, to be the Mashiach, for David to be the Mashiach, is first through Hikarvu to tzaddik. That by attaching yourself to the tzaddik, then the revelation of Mashiach takes place through that, through Yehuda.
Same thing in life. When you attach yourself to the tzaddik, when you experience Mashiach in your own life.
Perfect. Exactly.
The 10 plays also correspond to the 10.
See, bro, the 10 always corresponds to everything. Okay. So now, that's why I'm explaining what's the concept of the yichud. How do we have a yichud with Hashem, between us and Hashem? We're far from Hashem. We feel that. Because the people who are very close to Hashem, they're happy. So why do we feel so far? And why do we feel so unhappy? Why do we feel under such duress? The reason is because we don't have the koach on our own to go run the gamut. However, through the tzaddik is the one who creates the unity between Hashem and us. And that's the reason why he's called the Yesod, because the foundation is the pillar which connects and unites opposites. So to speak, Yosef is where heaven and earth kiss, meaning where Hashem and the Jewish people kiss. We kiss through Yosef. We unite through Yosef. And that's why the only ability for, meaning you're going to say on paper, how could it possibly be that we break our desire for money? Who's going to get us to break our desire for money? We're driven by that our whole lives. Our parents taught us that. Our society taught us that. The media teaches us that. Who has the koach to literally get all the Jewish people to break their taiva for mammon? Only the person that is mamish where heaven and earth kiss. The person who has that koach. And by the way, Rabbi Nachman says elsewhere, you cannot actually get a person to just break his taiva for mammon. It's impossible.
So what are we supposed to do?
You can only do it through Shmirat HaBrit. That when a Jew works on rectifying his Brit, automatically his taiva for money decreases. But you can't just tell a Jew, money is not the essence of life and he'll believe you. What? It includes, obviously, at the physical level, not wasting seed.
That's very like I'm saying
there's one. Not seeing things that are not sexually provocative. I know it's hard. I'm not telling you.
I'm saying that aspect of it, but I'm saying Shomar Brit is not that hard.
Everybody is
Shemar 9 is harder.
That okay. So first of all, everything's relative. They're all connected, and that's not just that. It also has to do with anything physical. Any physical pleasure that you engage in more than what is absolutely necessary in order to give you life force or chiyut from the thing is a level of pagam.
No way.
Wow. Even watch YouTube videos and all that stuff.
Yes.
How does that make sense? That way?
And that's the reason why.
What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to live
like
under a rock.
No,
No,
and that's the reason. No, it's a whole it's a paradigm.
And you're no longer living in this world. You're taking yourself out of what this world has to offer, and you're no longer in
So
Teva.
that's whatever he's saying. So that's the Gama Brit. If you're living in the world, quote unquote, whatever you're saying.
Yes.
You're living here physically, but you're not
Right.
here.
So I got it. Wow.
Like 10 years ago, last night, you would have taken shashlik, and made a plate
Are
and
you
eaten
kidding
like
me?
a
Oh
horse.
my gosh! You know
Had
I love
3
that.
shots of vodka.
Oh, are you kidding me? 100%.
All right, what happens if you use physical to elevate the spiritual?
But you can only do that once you move beyond it.
So I have a question.
Right. These parties you make for us Chodesh has nothing to do with us Chodesh.
I'm telling you something. I know that they don't teach you in the secure organizations. I'm being real with you. I'm about tshuva. I came from the same place you came from. I'm being completely honest with you. Your ability to be able to matakin and elevate the physical world first comes with you rising above it. Once you rise above it, then you're able to go use it in a way that's beneficial. But you can't do it at the same time. That's the reason why Noach had to go on the boat, on the Teva, and escape the flood before he could then go into the field and start planting. That's the reason why Avraham Avinu, he told him, Lechecha, and then he said, he took him kutza. Like, we have to go through a process where we first elevate above, and then we can come back down and use it beneficially. But to actually stay in it completely and still work to lift it up, you're not going to be able to because it's stronger than you. And we all know that because we experience that every day. We don't have the koach.
How about if you go to work just not to waste time?
What's that?
If you go to work just not to waste time at home.
That's Shmirat HaBrit. The Brit is very, very, very complex. Everything is connected to it, and that's the reason why it's so important to be connected to the tzaddik, because through hikashru to the tzaddik, then even while you're not holding by that level, but you're just working on it, Hashem considers it as if you, so to speak, have that madrega. This is what Rav Natan says. He says, I don't understand. That sounds impossible. This whole thing sounds impossible. So what? Until I attain this level, I'm not going to have a shkacha pratit. I'm not going to have money come easily to me. I'm not going to have this. I'm not going to have that. So Rabbi Nachman says, yes, but if you have hikashu with the one who does, and you are actively working on it, then no matter where you're holding, Hashem considers it as if, so to speak, you're holding by that level. You have the tzaddik zchut. But if you're not actively working on it, and or you're not connected to the one who's already attained it, you're not going to be able to do it. Okay? So now he says, that's why he says, strengthen yourself like what? Like a lion. Why like a lion? Why not like any other animal? This is the concept of the gathering of the souls and elevating them. Like the Torah says, Ashrei Am. Ariti mori im besami. And when a person breaks his taiva for money, he draws upon himself complete hashkacha pratit. You hear what you said?
Say that one more time.
When a person breaks his desire for money, he draws upon himself complete hashkacha. This is what it says.
So how are we supposed to pray properly to have money if you're not supposed to
Easy
desire?
money that will allow
You know
you
what I
to
mean?
Yeah.
rely on
Hashem,
hashkacha
please
pratis.
help me to make money in order to give. Well, first of all, help me to want money for the right reasons. Help that my money is not coming from a taiva for money. It's coming from, I want to use the money for mitzvot. And help that I really mean that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people say, oh, I want to make as much money to give the most amount of tzedakah. Maybe. Or maybe you just want to make the most amount of money and you'll be able to give the most amount of tzedakah. And for you to be able to clarify that for yourself, you're going to have to go do Ibodadut and look really deeply and get to the Eker. Because you're probably going to find you just want to make the most amount of money at its core. And you would also, with that, like to give the most amount of tzedakah.
So what's the problem with that?
Because that's taiva for mama.
But you're giving tzedakah.
Taiva mama.
How can that cause a Chilul Hashem?
Forget about Chilul Hashem. Don't go to Chilul Hashem. We're trying to tap into a very deep spiritual mechanism. I could tell you for a fact that the people that I know that have achieved this breaking of taiva with mammon, they mamish pray for things and they get them instantaneously. Once Hashem sees that you break this desire for money completely, and that means that you've broken your emunah in the thing that has the strongest koach for you to believe in it besides Hashem in our generation, then he sees that and he says, okay, you believe in me, I will be what I'll be, whatever you allow me to be. You have now made me your God, I'm going to go be your God. I could give you example after example after example of things that have happened to me with working on this inyan and other inyanim in terms of taiva, that Hashem mamish, I say, and Hashem does. And I'm not the only one. I know many people like this, even in our own group. It's a real thing. So you say, what am I going to do for an hour? You don't understand. If you have to go work for 8 hours to achieve what another person can do in a few hours and praying for 1 hour, so that's not a waste of time. You gain time. And through your breaking of your taiva mammon and drawing upon yourself complete hashkacha pratit, you draw the strength to see through the Torah. And this is what's relied upon in the Shulchan Aruch. Why does the halacha say, get up like a lion, and then the Ramah says, Shaviti Hashem negdi tami? What's the connection between Hashem is opposite you always and getting up like a lion, waking up from sleep like a lion? Everybody here? What is the connection between getting up like a lion, waking yourself up from sleep like a lion, and the fact that the Ramah says after that, because the Klal Gadol of the Torah is Shaviti Hashem negdi tami? Because Shaviti Hashem negdi tami, meaning I see Hashem opposite me always, that's hashkacha pratit. I see Hashem is the one who's doing everything always. When is that possible? Only through getting yourself up from bed like a lion, meaning breaking sleep, meaning breaking taiva mammon. Everybody understand what he's saying? And this is what it says in Orach Chaim, that anybody, it's fitting for him, a person who has Yirat Shamayim, meaning he has Amunah, that he is pained and troubled on the Churban of the Beit HaMikdash. How many of us here feel pain and anguish over the fact that the Beit HaMikdash is not here? Be honest. You really feel that?
Not me.
Thank you for being honest. Does anybody else feel that? Good. Thank you. Don't feel it. Good. What's the reason we don't have anguish over that and pain over that?
We didn't live it. We weren't actually.
We don't know what it is. Yeah.
We have no idea what we lost.
There you go.
Exactly,
That's the answer. Do you know the reason that the Jewish people struggle to make money and you would have it easy is if we had a big Mikdash? Do you know that in the times of the Beit HaMikdash, everybody had what they need in full and there was no concern for money whatsoever? Do you know why? Because the Shekhinah was out of exile. Rabbi Nachman explains, it's based on a Gemara, that once the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, all Parnasa went into the realm of the Sitra Achra. And that's why when you go run after it, you end up running into sadness. Because sadness is the Sitra Achra. Now, there is no way to go run after money and still be happy. But in the times of the Beit HaMikdash, you got it easy. Everyone had what they needed. So if you realize that all of your pain, let's say for a person, is coming from Parnasa, so really what you want is not Parnasa, you want Beit HaMikdash. Let's say a person is troubled by the fact he doesn't see Hashem in his life. Right? He's struggling because he feels that Hashem's hiding from him. He's trying everything he can to be close to him, and Imam doesn't see him in his life, and it's painful. So a person thinks to himself, I need this, I need that. No, you need Beit HaMikdash. You don't have Shalom Bayit. Your problem is not that you don't have Shalom Bayit. The problem is there's no Beit HaMikdash. Beit HaMikdash is Geula.
Yeah.
Does everybody understand that?
Yeah.
The root of your problems is not the problem itself. The root of the problem is the fact that the Beit HaMikdash, meaning the place where Hashem is revealed in the world, is destroyed. So he's now bringing in and he's saying, so why is it that it's fitting for a person who has Yirat Shamayim who is a Muna? Because a person who has Yirat Shamayim, he understands that in truth all of his problems are coming from the fact that there's no Beit HaMikdash. The reason why the Jewish people have mental health issues is because there's no Beit HaMikdash. The reason why we have physical health issues is because there's no Beit HaMikdash. Every single issue in the world is because the Beit HaMikdash is not here. So if a person knows that, then really what should be his number one yearning? Beit HaMikdash. And then what else is there to do besides get up at night and to cry over the Beit HaMikdash? Because if you are pained over your family members and your friends that are struggling with difficulties, then you should understand that that's really coming from the fact that there's no Beit HaMikdash. And if there was, they wouldn't be going through these things. So we should be yearning.
We don't talk about this more. The Rabbi is discussing this all day. Instead of whatever, I'm not discounting any mitzvah or any.
You're right.
But we should be discussing this.
You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
The foundation of kids, they don't get this. They have no desire for mitzvah, they have no connection to Hashem.
You're right. You're right. You're right on all of it. Because he says, why keep call Hamita Bel al Yerushalayim? Because all who mourn on Yerushalayim, Zoche, they merit Vera'eh V'simchata. They merit and they see her simcha. So now, Rav Walken had a beautiful chidush on this, and he says it's literally in the pasuk itself. That we know this is a very, very famous Gemara in Tanit. And it says, anybody who mourns on Yerushalayim, meaning he mourns over the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, he merits and he gets to see her rebuilding, meaning her simcha. But the Lashon is Zoche, he merits, meaning present. But the Gemara is not just saying that in the future he's going to merit to being happy when the Beit HaMikdash is rebuilt. He's saying that through my mourning over it right now, I merit to simcha now, which seems like a paradox. How could it be that I'm mourning over something and that's making me happy? Like that it's found, because a person who's pained and he's anguished on the Beit HaMikdash, the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, this is the concept of his building the Beit HaMikdash. Meaning the Beit HaMikdash is built by your mourning over it. By your mourning over the fact that we don't have it, you're actually building it. Why? Because when you mourn over it, the Zohar says you actually build da'at. So Rabbi Nachman's going to say right now that Tikkun Chatzot, by doing Tikkun Chatzot, you literally build da'at for yourself. What's da'at? What do we learn that da'at is? What is that God consciousness?
You're able to understand
that everything is from Hashem. We just said, what is it that makes a person happy? What is that draws happiness into a person?
Truth.
Da'at. To know that everything is from Hashem. By the way, you should know, in Kabbalah they explain, Rizal explains that the Beit HaMikdash, Reb Nachman says in the Kutim, the Beit HaMikdash is da'at.
It's mourn for
When you're mourning for the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, you're mourning for the destruction of da'at in the world, meaning that we don't know anything is from Hashem, we don't feel that anymore. That's what you're mourning for.
If you know everything's from Hashem and you have good amuna, strong amuna, you could basically say that life is the happiest place
Yes.
in the world.
Yes.
Is that all you need?
Yes. No, that is the Beit HaMikdash.
You basically just you need
The
a
physical Beit HaMikdash is a manifestation of spiritual da'at. That means that when all the Jewish people have da'at, the Beit HaMikdash will be rebuilt. It's one concept.
So why do we fight things that we think are bad for us?
Because we don't have emunah. Because we don't believe they're good for us. As a result, we don't get to see the da'at in it. We say ve'rasti be'emunah v'yada'at et Hashem. The key to experiencing that it actually is from Hashem is to first believe it's from Hashem. By believing it like you know it, you get to actually see it. Na'aseh v'nishma. We will do, meaning we'll do without understanding, emunah v'nishma. And then we will understand. Da'at. The middle finger is the holiest finger in the Torah. Whatever, there's reasons for it. But the bottom line is not the middle finger. The bottom line is that we literally say that it's through emunah that we're going to know Hashem. This world, Olam Hazeh, is about acquiring emunah. The times of Mashiach is the revelation of da'at in the world. But that only comes in the merit of emunah. That means to believe it's good before you see that it's good. That means that to believe in the Beit HaMikdash before you see the Beit HaMikdash. And the way that you show you believe in it is by mourning over it. By mourning over the fact, I'm telling you right now, if you do this enough, you mamish can cry in your hippolyte over the fact that all of your friends and family are suffering the worst pain only because of one thing. They don't believe that everything is from Hashem. That if they were to only know that, they would not be suffering all of that emotional. And if you're a sensitive person, even a little bit, you could cry hysterically. And if you cry like that, that's called mourning over the Beit HaMikdash. Because all of that pain is coming from the fact that there's no da'at in the world. And by the way, we're going to learn that Rav Natan says that you should mourn over the loss of tzaddikim, more even so than you mourn over the loss of the Beit HaMikdash. Because the Beit HaMikdash is literally...
giving you that da'at.
Yeah.
The tzaddikim are giving you
Beautiful.
that.
So the tzaddik is a living...
So you can't replace the tzaddik.
So tzaddik, right, you can't replace him. The tzaddik is literally a living Beit HaMikdash.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
And that's the reason why we say that Zion was destroyed. And the Midrash says that everything that happened to Yosef happened to Zion.
Everything that happened to Yosef happened to Zion?
Yes. What happened to Yosef? He was thrown away by his brothers. He was destroyed. He was it was a bizayon on him, right? And in the end, though, he was rebuilt and everybody needed him, and then it was destroyed.
So how about Zion?
And what does that have to do with Zion? Because Zion is the Beit HaMikdash. Zion is Yerushalayim. Okay? And Zion is Yosef. How do we see that Zion is Yosef? Because the gematria of Zion is 156 and the gematria of Yosef is 156. So the code word in Kabbalah for Zion is Yesod.
How many years did Yosef not see his father? So you can even have it.
No, the Midrash goes through like 20 reasons how it's exactly the same.
How many years?
And who's the father? It's Hashem. Okay? Meaning that the Tzaddik Yisod Olam is the Beit HaMikdash. The fact that we don't have him physically alive today, the pain that we all feel from not having him here, that is the mourning of the Beit HaMikdash. Because if he was here, you would not have sadness. Because you would see that everything is from Hashem, because he would be able to convey that to you. But because we don't have it, that's what you're mourning at. Okay?
You don't want Moshe been to a window because he could have the Beit HaMikdash and you don't want to destroy.
Right. Very good.
I'll ask this really quick. If I have a certain amount that I know I eat,
Yeah.
I know this is it.
You can stop there quick.
I eat about every 3 hours or so, and I know how much portions I have. Do I have to still eat from that portion?
You don't have to do anything.